You're ready to be premature all over again.
Wow, that's impressive.
Quick
bro.
reset. Quick reset.
Yeah, that's right. Licking gin balls.
It's just going to be a vicious cycle.
Who knew the job was pro bono?
I was so high that I shit myself at some point.
Okay, can still hear somebody. Everybody mute. Goddamn, you're killing me.
My SEAL Team 6 went to SEAL Team 12.
There's nothing wrong with punching above your weight.
To play with you.
better. Well,
I don't know what's worse. You're a ginger or you've been vaccinated.
You sit around and drink and solve the world's problems, right?
Hey, let's go ahead and unwrap this present
So,
and let the debate begin.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. New week, new episode. We have a special one today. We've talked about it now for almost 2 years. It has finally come to fruition. We've pulled all the right strings, greased all the right hands. We have managed to do it. We have pulled
Hands? Is that what we greased?
palms. I don't know what it doesn't matter. Don't interrupt my intro.
The tops of hands.
Shame on you. Shame on you. We have finally managed to pull in Fancy Ace. He is here with us in the studio today. Super excited to have him. We're going to be having a drink in his honor. He's going to walk us through how he made his. And I'm pretty sure we're all probably drinking similar to the same thing, but we'll find out as we go. Obviously, before we get started, how is everybody doing today?
Fancy Ace-tastic.
Ace-tastic. For you listeners out there, in case you missed it, we released an episode last week. Go and listen to it. It is called Let's All Rock and Rogan. It was about Joe Rogan and some of the issues that have been surrounding him as of late with Spotify and some things that got said in his past. But if you have listened to that, at the end of that, one of our very own, it was a fairly contentious debate. They had a few things to say. But at the end, Mac, I think, was aware of the position he had taken and some of the things that have been said, and even said in that episode, I may find myself getting replaced. Now, we've joked about this and we've talked about this. And so we decided we're going to pull the trigger this week. And so in case you hadn't noticed, Mac will not be here today. And we have a new member of the show, and that is Fancy Ace. So Ace, we're super glad to finally have you here. Thank you for joining us.
Finally.
I've been trying to be part of this team for quite some time. I'm glad you guys are letting me get a shot today. Thank you.
You've always been a part of the team in our hearts.
Yeah, you have, yes.
And now it's time for the listeners to experience the full power of Fancy Ace.
We're definitely Team Fancy Ace here in a spirited debate. Yep.
Amazing. You're going to have a blast today. You're going to like this. I promise.
We're looking forward to it. Now we'll get into what our topic is here in a moment, but let's go around the room, find out what everybody's drinking. We're going to start with, I'm not even going to say guest. We will start with the newest member of the show, Fancy Ace. What, Ace, are you drinking today? What did you bring to the table?
So today, the original shot that I was going for was a French 75 with Empress Gin, because we are all royalty. Everybody here, we're all royalty.
I like
it has
already.
a nice purple color to it. So it just shows that royalty and that comfort. But we are currently in a tiny town in Cape Cod doing a show over the next week, a Patsy Cline show that Diana and I get to do together. And our options for gin are a little limited. So we created a Holiday Inn French 75 for today. And I have a breakdown of our ingredients and how we renamed them as we put it together today.
Does that say bubbly shit?
It does say bubbly shit. So I would like to, I'll read you how I made the drink.
Not to be confused with, I guess diarrhea.
Champagne.
But yeah,
Please, champagne.
And there's no saying how it's going to go through. I can't promise any of that.
Okay.
So the ingredients are, I have 2 Mississippis of gin, 1 cup full of lemon, or 1 Mississippi of lemon. As you pour, just say Mississippi. 1 Mississippi of sweet, topped off with Fancy Ace-tastic bubbly shit.
Nice.
All right.
I'm all in. Let's do it.
If you get through one and it didn't do the job, do a 4 Mississippi of the gin on the second one.
There you go. Rinse and repeat.
See, wouldn't it just behoove you to do the 4 Mississippi in the first one to begin with?
For you, yes.
Well, it depends. Are you doing that walk that you did earlier, or are you just going to stay stationary?
It'd be stationary this time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Do you have a fancy name for your fancy French 75? What is this again?
This one is Holiday Inn
Holiday Inn
French 75.
Okay.
No.
Now, is that a Holiday Inn or Holiday Inn Express?
I actually don't know.
Because
Hold on.
if it's a Holiday Inn Express, then you're totally a full-time bartender now.
That's
Right.
it.
Well, I think it's just the Holiday. I'm an old school.
There you go. All
If it were
right.
an express, we'd be at the restaurant a little more often.
But it's not an Express. Do we trust that he's made a proper drink here? I don't know.
I don't
What
know. I'm
gin-
waiting to see for the first sip and watch
What
his
gin
face.
did you find?
Yeah.
I am excited. I'm excited to see what you guys think.
Okay. All right. Haas, there we go. We got fancy.
Hold on,
Oh,
Grinch,
you want to see
Grinch
him
asked
drink
a
it?
pertinent question. No. Fancy Ace, what gin did you
Oh.
use in yours? Did you actually use the Royal?
Seagram's Extra Dry. Was that all that was there? That's all you could find?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, it's like-
that face. Oh, buddy. Oh, I
That
just
was
want to give you a hug now. Oh,
I'm taking
yeah.
it. I feel your hug right now. I'm getting warmer.
Yeah.
there you go.
The gin will
Seagram's
help
Extra
too.
Dry. Yes,
Yeah.
it will. All right. All right. Haas, what about you, brother? What are you drinking?
So coincidentally, I've been in the gin a lot lately, and I've been thinking I've not done this yet before, so I'm going to do a French 75. I'm using the Monkey 47 gin that I like out of Germany, out of the Black Forest. The wife and I were in Budapest last week, and I've got this Hungarian dry champagne with my spritz of simple syrup and my spritz of lemon. So I'm ready to go.
Yes, French 75.
Now, you had mentioned when I talked to you a French 95.
It's made with bourbon instead
Okay,
of
that's
gin.
what I was going to ask.
That's
What's the
what
difference?
changes. Yep.
Okay,
That's
okay.
it.
Because I looked up
May
a
I
French
ask-
76, and it's made with vodka. So that's what I was wondering.
Okay.
What bourbon? May I ask?
What bourbon would I make it with if I was going to?
Yeah, totally. Which one would
If
you
I-
choose?
I don't know. I haven't done them both, so this is going to be new for me. And I think next week I'll
Blanton's
probably
Gold.
do the. No.
You
Um,
want that just on its own.
probably Elijah Craig small batch or single barrel. 4 rows of single barrel is probably what I would make it with.
I think there's a Crown Royal version as well. I can't remember the name that I saw, but it was probably a play on Crown and Royal, or like a Royal 75. Actually, I think is what it's called.
Okay.
Well,
there
we're
you
gonna
go.
have to try all these other weeks.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
All right. Grinch, what about you, brother? What are you having today?
Well, after hearing the quick explanation, I threw mine together just off screen and muted, so you weren't hearing me rattling stuff around.
The Mississippi and all that. Gotcha.
I made the French 75 as well.
Yeah.
I used the Tanqueray Sevilla Orange.
Okay.
And for champagne, I used the Just Peachy.
You're going with the fruits, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, that was definitely the angle.
Okay.
So, and then just the lemon juice. So, yeah.
So we got orange, lemon, simple syrup, and peach to round out your French 75.
Oh, look at that face.
Oh, that's good.
That's a face of satisfaction. I know.
That's a face that says, I don't work tonight. I'll be drinking one of these.
Yeah, that Just Peachy is a good call too.
Yes.
All right.
So good when it touches the lips.
I guess I am last.
So, yeah, Fat Thor, what did you roll with tonight?
So I would not be outdone by any of you. Obviously, with the newest member on the show, I too did a Francais 75. But mine's a little different. And the reason mine is different is because I didn't use alcohol. I decided to go with the 0 proof, all natural gin substitute. So that the company is 0 proof and they make a gin alternative. Tastes like gin, no alcohol, 0 calories. Because the gin alternative by itself tastes like hammered shit. And so I'm always looking for a drink.
You're trying to get rid of it.
I'm trying to find a drink that I can use it in. Because I've done it in a gin and tonic. So when the French 75 came down, I was like, oh, okay. I've done this on the show before. I did this way back in season 1 at the beginning. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to circle back, but I'm going to try this gin alternative and see. I didn't have a fancy champagne flute. I made a double batch, which ultimately I guess doesn't really matter since it's a non-alcoholic. If I could have made a picture of it.
Double
it
down.
So yeah, it's the gin alternative with the lemon juice, homemade simple syrup, and then just cheap ass champagne. Because I don't drink a lot of champagne. I don't keep it on hand.
You didn't invest in a fine bottle of champagne?
Fuck no. So
my little dog.
All right, yeah. All right. So, all right. You guys have tried yours.
Yeah.
Do it. Fat
yeah.
Thor, what you think?
It's not bad. I would prefer the gin if I'm going to drink it. I know this is something we've debated, is like, why do an alternative to alcohol? But Ace, and you may not know this, we are actually doing a New Year's challenge. Thanks to Grinch, who decided at the beginning of the year we all needed to lose weight. Appreciate that. How you doing in that, by the way, Grinch?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's coming along great.
All right. So yeah, that's one of the reasons I'm trying this, because it's 0 calorie. But it's not bad. It's obviously mostly lemon. The gin just gets buried by the champagne and the lemon, so I can't really even tell there's gin in it. And since there will be no buzz that is associated with it, it's kind of a waste. So,
but what is the resolution? It's that it's gone, or it's gone once a Sunday, or what is the actual resolution?
It's a weight loss challenge, if that's what you're asking.
How much? Where do you limit the drink though? Because we have 2 75s. And you're doing a non. Are you doing
French zero?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, our challenge is just a year-long challenge to lose weight. And so I'm hoping this will help. But as we've discussed on the show, the alcohol bears very few calories to an overall drink. It's always the mixer or whatever the soda, something you're putting in with it. But yeah, this is my attempt to just get rid of the gin alternative. And that I am successful.
Hold on, but there's an easier way to get rid of that gin alternative.
Pour it the fuck out.
Yeah, pour it down the fucking sink, bro.
Initially, when you were
making shitty drinks,
you were saying what your drink was, I was just thinking that you didn't want us to feel bad that you had something else you had to do after this today. That's why you went the non-alcoholic route.
I actually do, but that's neither here nor there. So, but hey, Grinch is not working. He gets to drink. That's all I care about. But
I'm not working today. I'm drinking with you.
There you go.
All right, so how is yours, Ace? I haven't seen you try yours yet.
It's probably gone. He's holding up an empty glass.
Oh, is it nice? Okay, well, in that case,
and I have all the ingredients to Mississippi my way to another one.
There you go. Well, gentlemen, cheers to another great show.
Cheers, guys.
If I have to remake this, I'm going to just use the regular gin, because what's the fucking point?
I mean, soon if you keep doubling down, you're going to run out of the alternative.
Or I just pour it out, as was mentioned already. Maybe that's the other option. All right, let's go to work.
I doubt it was a significant financial investment.
It actually was a 0 financial investment on my perspective. It was given to me.
Right, which says something.
That's why it's there.
Here, you deal with this shit.
Yeah, exactly. But
I have a lot of those things in my garage.
I'm not in the habit of wasting stuff, but yeah, I'm not sure. Not sure this one's going to work. But all right, so let's carry on. As we said, we have Ace here. Super happy to have him in the studio. We thought it has been almost a year. It was May of last year when we had him and his lovely wife on, when they were talking about a pivoting opportunity that his wife Diana had made working with Fancy Sips. So yeah, it's almost a year since the last time you were on. So we're super excited to have you back. The topic for today, though, is going to be, and it will be the last time, I promise our listeners. We've done it twice. This will be the last time we discuss this, and this is going to be COVID-19 and where we're at right now. Obviously, we know for me, it has been 2 years, 2 years yesterday, technically, that I was sent home, that our work said, that's it, COVID's happening, you're going to be working from home. So it's been 2 years, almost to the day, that things were kind of upended. And so we are back here now after 2 years to discuss, what's life like now? How have things changed? Ace, we met with you and Diana almost 2 years ago when we were talking about, y'all being in Broadway, musical theater, and how had the landscape changed. Obviously, May of last year, your wife pivoting and working with Fancy Sips because you guys were still waiting for things to kind of open back up. And now, as you mentioned, you're staying at a Holiday Inn. You're doing a show up in Cape Cod. So clearly things have changed. So that's why we thought this would be a good time, have you on, talk about where things are at in the country with COVID. We know with the State of the Union address that Biden mentioned, the CDC has lifted mask mandates across the country. So that's changed. So that's what we're going to talk about today. It's just last time, third time's a charm. We'll be done with COVID. We'll put it away after 2 years. I'm frankly done talking about it. So that's where we're at. So Ace.
Yeah. Well, I didn't mean to interrupt, but it's worth mentioning, just for those that haven't heard that other podcast, that you all were in Chicago, like on the cusp of a new, it was like a month-long show or something, some kind of time frame along those lines.
We were in rehearsals. Yeah, we were in rehearsals for a month. We were 3 days from opening, doing our previews in Chicago for a brand new show a musical called Skates. and we completely shut down. A year later, we lost the theater. Well, the production company, not me and Diana, but the production company lost the theater, and they now have a new theater they're going into, starting up hopefully around, well, what we got, June? Yeah, May, June. We're going to be back into Chicago, hopefully May 25th for our first shows. And it's been a lot. It's been a lot because, I mean, everything we built there in that theater when we left was torn down. Our stage was torn down. They have to put it all back together. We got to figure out a brand new space. We're excited to go to work, however. But it's just, it definitely was just like what you said, Fat Thor. It's like we got kicked into our house, and we didn't have anything to do on work wise. So we just got home and had to figure out where we were going to make some money. And I went right into construction and helping friends remodel whatever they wanted to do and build some furniture and whatever I could do hands-on stuff. But it was definitely a quick life change. And that was 2 years. It went really fast.
Now, over that time, you guys have done virtual theater. Is that correct? Like, you've done things where you filmed at home, right?
Yeah. Diana was actually the leader on that one. She had started 2 virtual shows, musicals at our house, where she shot on green screen her characters' portions of scenes and songs. And everybody in New York, all these producers were then taking everyone's green screen from their places and creating a stage, putting everybody on the digital stage, and then presenting these on different things like StreamYard and different things that are available online to watch things, a la pay-per-view, but, internet. And she did that for 2 different shows, and then we got to do one together. And actually, the funny thing is, we're with the same production company that she did all those shows with digitally while we were at home. She created such a great time with them that we're doing a Patsy Cline show right now with the exact same production company, but we got to see them in person and give them a hug.
It's live. So is that going to be kind of the wave of things? Not to shift the topic too much, obviously, from what we want to, but in terms of virtual, is that something that will continue to be a thing, or is it really, let's put that behind us as things open back up and let's really go back out and stand in front of people?
I think it opened up. I think the virtual market really opened up producers and investors' eyes to how to package shows in a way that could be a push play for them to have partners. And literally, you could send somebody a video of the idea that you want to take to a stage or to a movie, and give them the idea of it right there. So I think it's the way that new shows will be created. I don't, however, feel that it's going to be. I don't think it can ever beat being in the room. When you're on a stage and people are really there and you feel each other's energy, it's different. It's completely different. And we need each other. I mean, we're literally sacks of water that send electronics from our brain through our body. We need each other to just feel each other's energy and know where we're going as a mass. So I think it'll be a way to prep shows, but I hope it's not the way, because I would definitely want to see people. I want to travel. I don't want to stay at home for another year and a half. Like, let's be real.
It was so weird. I mean, we went to a movie last night, and it wasn't sold out, but we went and saw Batman. And it was like, we had like a few observations. One, in the theater, total availability was like 5 movies total, and it's like a 10-screen theater. There just aren't any movies to put on right now. But in the theater it was probably 3/4 full, thereabouts, and like it just felt normal. But it caused me to kind of reflect on like how weird it was for a while, never going, like physically stepping into restaurants, only getting like drive up, and there were all these protocols to get the food handed off. I was thinking, like, it feels like the blip, in Marvel's Endgame, where it's just like, it's like 2 years went by. Like, what happened? It's just so odd. I don't know. It was just kind of surreal to think about it now, of like downtown New York completely empty.
Totally agree.
Like post-apocalyptic.
I have a friend that I just saw in New York, and he has a video once COVID started of him on his bike riding around Times Square, and there's not one person. It looks like I Am Legend. Like, it was literally like empty in the busiest place in the country. It was truthfully like it just I don't know. I don't want to go back to that.
Sounds
eerily
surreal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that from a couple of people, just how weird they equated it to kind of like I guess like when the power went out in New York and like the city just got so quiet, that everybody
dark.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. They could all see the stars because the lights
for the first time
weren't taking the shot away. Yeah.
Right. And it's interesting because like, if you just look at the dynamic here, like I work full-time remote. Haas, I know you live overseas. You work full-time remote. Grinch, your job forces you to go out into the world on some level. And then obviously Ace, with what you and your wife do, really without being out in the world, you can't function. I mean, you can do green screen in your basement or whatever, but it's not the same thing. And so
we go where the work is.
Right. And I imagine you travel all over the country as needed. Your wife has traveled all over the world, right? South Korea and stuff like that. So obviously having COVID occur and such, the untimely nature of that happening and then what that does. And I know when it happened, everybody thought, we'll be back to work in a week. I know I did when our company sent us home. It was like, I'll be back to work by the beginning of April. And then
just 2 weeks, right?
Right. And then it's the beginning of May. And when we had you and Diana on the first time, you guys got shut down. It was like, check back in 2 weeks. We'll be ready to go.
Yeah, it's been a long fucking 2 weeks.
Right. The longest fucking 2 weeks. And then we hear news coming out of China just recently. They just locked down over 9 million people because of a COVID outbreak in China. Now you say, well, 9 million in a country's population that's more than 1 billion, that's next to nothing, right? But when you look at the United States, the largest city in the country is New York City. Their population's 8,622,000. So that would be like locking down the whole of New York City here. And when you put it in those terms, it's like, that's a lot of people.
And just for even more clarification, that's the entire population of the country of Austria. So that would be locking down all of Austria again.
Right. And then you go, when you hear that, you go, shit, are we going to be back to that in a month, maybe 2? Are we going to be back to mass lockdowns and, having to, is something else going to pop up? We had COVID-19. We had the Delta variant. We had the Delta Plus variant. We've had, what is it? Omicron, whatever the fuck it's called. What's the next thing? And I know it's been frustrating for people, but I think now we're looking at, according to the CDC, we're looking at more than almost 80 million cases in the country since the start, almost 1 million deaths, and then almost 255 million have been vaccinated. So obviously massive numbers, 335 million in the United States, 255 million vaccinated, minimum of 1 shot. So obviously we're making progress. That's more than 80% of the country has been vaccinated. It's time, right? And I know we've talked about this on the show. Grinch, you're like, I'm done being indoors. I'm going out. Haas, I know you do go out. I think I'm probably the one holdout in the group that's like, I am more careful because of my wife's medical issues, where it's like, I don't want to bring that into my home. Grinch, you said it. Just get it and be done with it. Like there was like a weight lifted off your shoulders. You're like, I got it. And now I've moved past it. But I'm like, I don't know. I just want to have that badge that says I didn't fucking get it. I don't know why.
I would have rather not. I don't want to, give the wrong impression. It was just that once the reality set in that we actually had contracted it, it was like, wow. I mean, it happened,
right.
I just didn't think it would, especially because it was the same week we got our booster.
Yeah. And you're like, wait a minute.
So it was like the irony of it all was just like, son of a, right. And then, yeah, I told you I saw that, I came across that article of how people were saying, like, after getting it, and even with the vaccine, which I think, limited the severity of the symptoms, it was almost just like, finally, fuck, like, again, it's not that I'm going to go around licking doorknobs now, but I at least just like, whatever, like,
I'm a huge doorknob licker.
Yeah.
Is that safe? I've had COVID. It's okay. I can get away with it.
Well, the other thing was, and I mean, I made this point, and I think ultimately I'm going to end up being wrong, which was what impressions will remain afterward. Because you remember for a while, we talked, Mac mentioned this the other day, of like the one-way aisles in grocery stores. Like clearly that barely lasted to begin with, but you had the entire sanitation station at the front of every store. And like, now the only thing I know, at least recently from recent experience still exists is like, if you board a plane, you are still wearing a mask, which I don't know if domestic that's going to stay, but I think for international flights, it's still in place. And they sanitize the plane and they give you this stuff to wipe down. Now that's still a thing, but like a lot of these sanitation, sprayers that are in the front, like either aren't full or they just aren't there anymore.
Right. Well, let's ask Ace. I'm assuming, did you guys fly up to Cape Cod or did you?
We did.
So what was travel like domestically?
It was masks. The minute you get to security at the airport, you got to put it on. You got to keep it on. If you go to a restaurant, you have to wear it until you sit down, put in your order with the waiters wearing it. On the plane, the entire way through baggage claim. When you get outside, take a breath. Okay.
How do you feel about wearing masks?
Well, much like you, I feel that you have your wife that you're worried about, and you don't want to get her sick with someone sneezing on your jacket and you walk into your house. We're the same with our production companies, like all the other actors that we work with, all the other crew and lighting and all the people that were around. We're doing a show that's just Diana and myself as a 2-person show, but we have a good 15, 20 people that are working that thing with us, running cues, running lights, running projections, doing the show with us and running all this stuff. And if one of us gets it, the Petri dish has been contaminated and there's no show. So I wear a mask everywhere. I know that it was lifted. But if I'm in my car with my wife, I'll take it off and we'll enjoy each other. But the minute we get out of the car and walk into even a 7-Eleven, that thing's on, hands are cleaned. Like I am not going to be the one that brings it in and ruins the opportunity for 15 people to make a living for a month and a half just because I needed to get, a squirt at the 7-Eleven.
Right.
Yeah. Do you guys think they should have lifted the mask mandate? I mean, I know we're supposedly on the back end of this thing, right? We're coming up on the 18th and we're about to head to the clubhouse, but do you guys feel that that's appropriate given where we're at?
I mean, truthfully, with the mandate, people are going to do what they're going to do. I think that the dirtiest we are is when we're in a collective bathroom. So a lot of people go into a bathroom and when they go in a stall, they take their mask off, they blow their nose, they do their personal things like they're at home, but they don't realize you're at an airport, 1,000 people just sat there and did the exact same thing. So you're actually going to a place that you think is sanitized and you're passing it and you have no idea what's going on. And for the 3 days that you had it before it made you have the runs, you truthfully don't even know you have it and you're spreading it. So it's, I think people are going to do what they're going to do, but I wish there was more attention on how things get into our body, not how things spread. I wish people just taught kids like, all the holes in your body, that's how you get sick. So if you ever take anything in your finger, you touch your eye, your nose, your ears, your butt, your mouth, whatever, you are possibly contaminating your own portal.
In that order.
Like, yeah. And nobody wants to touch it.
Not the other way.
In that order.
This is like, and if you let somebody else do it.
Never go but the nose. Like, you gotta start at the nose. But yeah, kids don't even know that. Like they really don't understand it. It's like taxes when you're growing up. Nobody tells you until you have a good year and then you realize half of it's yours and you spent 70% already. Like that's the situation that we're in. So I feel that people are going to do what they're going to do. I'm going to wear a mask. I'm going to bring my own Purell. I don't need to be sponsored by the airport's Purells. I'm totally going to do what I'm going to do, but it's just to protect the people that I love and that I see and I work with.
Yeah, because I guess you being in that situation, like you're in a 2-person show, right? If you get it, there's no show. Even if nobody else gets it, unless you have an understudy or something like that, it's like, well, we don't have Ace for the next 7 days. Now what?
And
right?
This show, there is no understudy.
Right. So it's like, if you get it and have to isolate for 5 to 7 days, there's just no show. If that's during the run of the show, it's like, oh, well, all of this was now for nothing.
Exactly.
And it's just like,
they've already sold the tickets. Like how many people are you letting down in that one moment. It's just not worth it.
Right. And I mean, again, for like a Haas, you get it. You isolate in your home, but you can still work, right? I could still work. Someone like an Ace can't. Grinch, you've had it and had to miss work. But, it's different than if, 1,000 people buy tickets to a show and then it's like, oh, now we can't put on the show. What do we do?
And all the people involved, all that money goes back to the people that bought the tickets, and all the people in the production eat it. The LLC goes bankrupt and you start over. That's a lot of stuff.
And then they look at Ace and they go, is he trustworthy that he's doing what he should be doing, taking care of himself? Are we going to have this issue down the road if we hire him again?
Did he touch his nose first?
Right. Or somebody else.
Ass to mouth, not mouth to ass.
Unless you're the human centipede, and then who the fuck knows?
Oh God, how did we manage to work that in?
All I can think of is that meme you sent out. Got your nose.
Yeah, I know. It is, again, it's just weird, and I think I was still amazed at how fast it spread. It was like you were watching this thing in real time, because of course it was dominating the news, right? And you could just see it like getting closer, and you're thinking, how does something in China end up in a small town in North Carolina? But it happened, and I get it. There's, we got a tourist component, but I don't think there's probably anywhere that wasn't touched by this in some form or fashion, which is just crazy.
You're totally right. And the places that couldn't handle it had even bigger hits. Like, let's go to the countries that don't have the technology to help. Like, they were hit even harder, and we're not even hearing about it.
Right. Now, how much was, I know there was obviously a good portion was pervasive in the news, but there was also missteps by the previous administration and how things got handled and, stuff like that. So I think part of the issue is also trying to stem the tide of the disease itself, the virus itself, but also making sure that whatever administration's in power isn't making missteps moving forward. Haas, you asked, should we have lifted the mask mandate? Scientifically, I don't know. They're obviously looking at the trends, the graphs, the stats, going, okay, we're always in a downward flow. Maybe, we lift the mask mandate in public area, outdoors in public areas. And then it's like, okay, maybe indoors and stuff like that. But as Ace said, like, I still wear my mask no matter where I go. And I am trying to step out a little more and go, okay, I can't be a shut-in in my house. That's not the way I want to live. But I am just super careful. And I watch people, and it's like, kids can't be vaccinated. Young kids can't be vaccinated. They should be masked up. And then you see people in Publix, and they're pushing a cart around, and their little 2-year-olds just reaching out and grabbing shit on the shelves, and there's no mask, no nothing. Parents not wearing a mask. And I'm like, heaven forbid if that kid gets something and dies, how the fuck are you going to feel?
Well, hold on.
We even know when they got it.
Right.
Do you know COVID's not a real thing? It's just
I apologize. You're right.
Yeah, every single person that said that to me in the beginning got it.
And you guys knew someone well-known in Broadway, because I know you mentioned it.
Nick,
yeah, I can't remember his last name. Got it, or something like that.
He did Rock of Ages. Nick was an amazing, beautiful spirit. Diana got to do a show with him with Toxic Avenger, and he's no longer here.
Right.
And we have other friends in Broadway that won't get the shot.
And I imagine the family of Nick, when people go, COVID's not real, they probably want to throat punch somebody. And it's like, really?
How enraged would you be if something got your wife, and then somebody at a grocery store line was like, it's not real?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to jail.
Yeah. And
right.
That's, we discussed this as well, and other, from other angles, but it's like the human element of this that defies logic and reason. And you're going, especially, and you already mentioned the administration that was at the helm at the time, which somehow getting the vaccine became like a symbol of, I don't even know, being a sheep, right? And it's like, you'd ask people why, and it's like their stories would evolve and change, which meant it was just the flavor of the day of what the excuse was. Because it's like, you've got, measles, mumps, and rubella shots. You've got polio shots, hepatitis A and B. tetanus, you got all these other things.
Your flu shot.
You're totally fine with, but this, like we said before, this is the one, right? This is the one that's going to be your undoing and plant the microchip.
I just went through Colorado in the beginning of the year. Diane and I got to go back when we did our show in Vegas through New Year. We came through Colorado, saw my family, and I found a piece of paper that was all my shots in elementary school. And I was blown away. There were 7 shots that I had to go to elementary school. And this is one shot for something that is legit, like happening right now that people don't want to receive. It blows my mind how we need to wake up, because we believe in things we can't even see. But then you have a fever up and down above your body temperature and below your body temperature, literally bouncing around for 2.5 weeks. You have the runs for the entire time. You can't eat, and it's not happening. It's not real.
You can't smell, you can't taste. Yeah, but it's all fiction.
Everybody goes through this. It's like the chiropractor. Once it pops, everything's good, right?
What blows my mind is the people who are in positions of power who prophetize the bullshit. That's the one that gets me. Where's your duty and responsibility to mankind?
Oh, dude, when people won't go money first before humanity, it drives me mad.
Yeah. Well, like I said, unfortunately, humans are involved in all of these, and I mentioned it, like the fucking people like Alex Jones and others that peddle in conspiracies and say you should be taken. It's something silver. There's a C word, I think, in front of it. I mentioned this the other day of like, that's a legit thing that some of these conspiracy sites promote to make money, and they sell a fair bit of it. And if you go to like the WHO or the CDC's website, like the opening statement is literally, silver serves no purpose in the body.
Unless you're a werewolf
whatsoever.
Don't fucking do it.
And if you get a buildup of it in your body, your skin and eye color will change. It'll become like a grayish blue.
Really?
But yet, these guys are like, these idiots will buy it. Put it out there. We'll make some money.
And what's going to be the recourse for people who actually take this stuff? What will there be? I mean, when these statements are out there, like now these companies have a potential defense. So these idiots who take this stuff and get this stuff will have no recourse. I mean, which should you if you're dumb? I don't know.
I know. It's like, is this Darwinism? Maybe I'm okay with it.
Well, 60 years ago, they were handing mercury to kids in high school and letting them push it around on a desk and going, look how cool this is. And then we realized mercury builds up in the system and the heavy metals. And
well, I mean, dude, they were letting us play with like high molar hydrochloric acid, right? When we were in high school. Like they shouldn't have been letting us do that either.
That's true.
Bombs were created where if you touched what it was made of, you are dead. Like that's insane.
But again, like you said, Grinch, there's the human element. And Ace, you said this obviously was no matter what's going on, people are going to do what they're going to do. Even if the CDC mandates XYZ, somebody out there's going to go, I'm not wearing a fucking mask. I don't care. And they're going to step out into the world. And, I know what they said early on was like, when you wear a mask, that is only protecting other people so that you're not breathing on them. If you're standing in close proximity and you're in a mask and they're not, that's not helping you. What's the analogy? Like if somebody's taking a piss and they're not wearing pants, and they're just pissing on your leg.
The two people peeing each other. Yeah.
And it's just like, so I wear a mask everywhere I go, but in the back of my head, I know I'm going, this is only helping them, not really me, because they're still doing dumb shit.
Yes.
And Haas, if you pee on my leg, I might get warts. I'm just saying. So I would get something.
You might. It might also cure your psoriasis.
Or if you got stung by a jellyfish.
Yeah, I say he's played that jellyfish card too many times. I'm like, really? Amazing. We're not even near the ocean.
Dude, we're in downtown. Do you use that jellyfish excuse with your wife too?
Don't have to.
No. I hope you got a big shower.
There you go.
He calls it the gold.
It is, and it's golden
jellyfish.
But no dots are showing up on you, so it doesn't look like you stepped on a Sharpie.
Well, see, what you do is you wait till the middle of the night when they're sleeping, you put the dots there.
There you go. You've got it down to a science.
Yeah. What are you
just saying? Hypothetically,
what else do you do when she's sleeping? Because I sleepwalk naturally, and I could just say I'm doing that. I guess
you could. I'm gonna have to use that one. Thank you.
You can't wake a sleepwalker. What are you doing? I'm making a pie over here. Why do you have a Sharpie in your hand?
To market is mine.
Yeah, I mean, it's been an interesting 2 years, and I know everybody's itching to kind of get out, and I think that's one of the reasons with the mask mandate being lifted is everybody's just itching to get out. And obviously we see last year college football back in full swing, and everybody's going full packed stadiums. The NFL, all of your sports leagues are now doing it. And if that is not, if not sticking 70,000 people in a stadium isn't a mass spreader situation, I don't know what is. But
money.
It is, and that's really, I think, where we get to is it's all about dollars and cents, and people are like, you know what?
No, I don't know if it's about dollars. I think it's also about the fact that people are just tired. People are tired. I mean, I think we're becoming more brazen here, and of course, it's weird. The dichotomy here is interesting. So, Austria is getting the most cases it's ever had, and then simultaneously removing all the preventative stuff they had, except for mask mandates still in place on public transportation and in grocery stores or enclosed spaces, which I approve because I think masks are the number one deterrent. So I'm fine with that. And then, of course, if you want to go into gastronomy, if you want to go into restaurants or bars or pubs, you have to have either been vaccinated or show proof of recovery from. So I'm okay with that. But it's interesting because in Austria, we were locked down, had like no cases. And then now we're getting, 50,000 new cases a day, which is a lot for us. And they've completely removed everything else. So I think people are just tired. And I think the economy's tired. The economy can't continue to handle no business.
We need to be together.
Yeah, and there's that. I mean, we're out walking in one of our favorite parks here, and then everyone's out, and they're out in droves, and the weather's getting nice. Because once spring hits, I mean, forget it. No one here is going to be inside. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah,
well, outside's cool.
Well, it's funny. I mean, even in some cases, parks were closed. And so you ended up walking around your own block, with the pups over and over again. It's just, and there are times you're like, it's a park. The playgrounds were closed. And that, of course, was a huge thing of people getting in trouble because they were trespassing into spaces. I mean, it happened in our own local town. I'm like, are you kidding me? Come on.
We definitely need each other. Yeah, we need each other. That's what it is. And that's why I would always prefer being in front of real people, regardless of what the job is. I would rather feel the energy of the people. So I agree that we need each other. I also feel that we should have all outdoor activities, but just keep keep your kid clean as you bring them in, and clean them as they go. It's just so weird. There's no way to say anything about it anymore. It's it's done loops.
I'll tell you what's cracking me up though is the fact that you all still have your towels.
Don't fucking judge us, you son of a bitch.
I kept moving mine. It was driving me crazy.
You mean my Talga?
Yeah, Talga. Nice. Yes.
Don't be hating.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Oh man. Yeah. I mean, I agree with what Haas said. I mean, people around here were already, just done. And frankly, I mean, I hate it. I hate wearing that thing. It just drives me nuts. It isn't that I don't respect the value of it. And when I needed to, when the guidance was there, but I kept leaving it places. I'd forget that I had it, you'd go up. You remember it was the old, you get ready to head out and you're like, are there masks in the car? Or are they
gloves,
every time,
sanitizer?
Yeah. Phone. It's become part of the list with your phone.
Yeah.
I will say this though. I'm more cognizant of all the shit I touch when I'm out now. It's just going and buying groceries. If you
including being barefoot in TSA?
Fuck yeah, it is. I'm aware. You're jealous.
That's how he works on his immunity.
Yeah, it is.
I walk through TSA.
He said that for years. He says he doesn't. He won't even take penicillin.
Bro,
or what was it you said? You don't believe in washing your hands?
Yeah, my parents taught me not to piss on my hands. That's what they taught me.
Yeah.
That was my first go at
You
it.
piss on other people's hands, not your own.
Dude, that brings up when I was a little kid, 11 years old, first time going into a very public porta potty where I remember the moment. I walked in and there was a dude right next to me, and I'm going to the bathroom trying to be a grown up for the first time. And we don't do the head swivels because I learned all the rules. I was like, don't talk. We're not allowed to talk to each other. Those are the rules. So this other guy gets up and he starts walking out, and I turn and look at him and say, hey, you didn't wash your hands. And he goes, I didn't piss on my hands.
And then you're like, me neither. All right.
Well, and then, I was like, well, I didn't, but I'm still going to wait, hold on. And yeah, it was awkward, but it definitely made a mark.
It's funny. I worked with a guy who we were going through one of our, 3-month-long training sessions, and he would mentally note everyone that didn't wash their hands after the bathroom. He'd be like, I'm not touching that guy. I'm not shaking his hand.
What did he say to him? Did he just ignore them?
He just played off. He something, he's like, it's gross.
Not doing it. Oh.
And that's regardless of COVID. That's just,
and we're gross. Like we literally are processing everything that we're around, and that's how our body keeps its strength to everything that's around us. So we're gonna process whatever we are near. So It's like, that's the weird thing. Are we supposed to process all this stuff and see if we make it? Like it's gotten to a ridiculous point.
Well, the body's meant to have a certain amount of bacteria. It's why I walk through TSA barefoot and lick my feet when I get home, Hosh. That's why I'm also never sick.
You can lick your feet.
No. You can say right now that you haven't been sick for the last 2 years because you haven't gone anywhere or done anything.
No, I'm saying previously. I can't tell you the last time I got sick.
Aren't you going to a show here soon?
I am.
Oh,
and are you
I'm
nervous?
actually going to 2 shows back to back.
Are you nervous about this?
I'm going barefoot with him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Am I nervous?
Yeah.
I think that part of me is wondering, like, what's everybody else going to be doing? Clearly, Grinch is not going to wear a mask. He just said that. I don't fucking like wearing that.
I'm licking
shit.
the handrails.
I mean, you feel free. But I'm not going to let that affect the fact that I am going and I'm going to enjoy myself.
We just experienced that actually the first time. Just a week ago, my mom was in town in Nashville, and we went to see one of our friends at a jazz club. And the minute we walked in, my brain naturally went back in time, and I was thinking everything's normal. The minute we walked in, it was amazing how shocking it was to my body and my system being around that many people again, being around the natural noise of a band, which was amazing. I loved it. I got so overwhelmed. I legit heard the first jam of a jazz session and I'm crying of joy just to feel everyone again. But you guys are gonna love it. Just the feeling of the bodies and everybody having an enjoyment of release. Like everyone is there. That's my church.
Right.
That's when I find my higher purpose, and it was unbelievable.
And it's going to be different, Haas, obviously, from the last concert I saw, which was Tool in 2019. 20,000 people in an arena versus seeing Ministry at the Hard Rock Live, which is a considerably smaller venue. What are we up in the balcony or something, or is it
balcony?
Seats?
Yeah,
we're in the balcony.
I think it's the balcony.
So I mean, you know what I'm saying? You're not going to be in a pit crammed together like sardines. And for Grinch, she's like, I'm in my 40s. I'm not doing that shit anymore. Fuck
That's right. I don't mosh anymore.
I want to see. So yeah, and the night
only
before,
when I need to pee.
And the night before, I'm actually going with my wife to see Richard Marx at the Capitol Theater, which is only 630 seats here. So it's a incredibly small venue. Yes, though, in the back of my head, it is there because, and even A said it. You don't want to be the guy that brings that shit home. But I know that's a concern.
I'm just wondering because there's a huge difference between, I think, the way all of us have been living and then kind of weaning ourselves back in to where you've basically isolated,
right,
and stayed that way, and now you're gonna go without you kind of diving in head first. And I was just curious how that is for you because that's such a difference.
It is. I am excited. I'm looking forward to it. But like I said, it's always in the back of my head that I could bring something home. That could be an issue. My parents just had a scare recently. My aunt, they had gone to see my aunt. She tested positive. So then they were like, oh shit. And I knew I had been around them since it had happened, when this happened. So they are testing and going, we're going to test and let you know. And the whole time waiting for a response, I'm like, did they get it? Do I have it? Did I bring it home? And then they're like, okay, we're negative. Then they took a secondary test 48 hours after and they were still negative. So I'm like, okay. But yeah, in the back of your head, Grinch is probably like you. When you got it, you're like, holy fuck, I got it. It's like,
yeah. I mean, it was, like I said, it was one of those just like, really? Like I've come so far and I have no certainty. I have a suspicion of where it happened, but there was no certainty. But I will say in terms of my mindset, it isn't because I've had it before that maybe I'm a little more relaxed. It's also, and this is targeted towards your situation, my metropolitan area isn't anything on the scale of what you're dealing with.
Right.
So it is a smaller town and therefore I kind of feel like I have a better sense of the infection rate as opposed to like a massive city that like people are just traversing constantly, international travelers, you got a major airport,
right.
So I think my mindset might be a little different, depending, if I were down there of just, I don't know everybody here, but like, I feel like I've got a sense of my town now.
It's still hard though, because when you go to a
yeah.
grocery store, you don't know if you're seeing a zombie or just someone who's hungover, like it's, that's the hard part. When we were in New York, I wore a mask the entire time on the subway. So the minute I went down into the subway stairs, it was already on, got on the subway, we're carrying stuff and sweating through a ride. And it's not an enjoyable thing. And you try to feel people and see how they hold themselves and see the ones that need help. And ultimately the people that are going to be sick are the ones that you want to help as well. Because if anybody's, having a hard day, you want to help them get to the next place they're going. But it's hard to read people, especially with something that they don't even know they have. I mean, do you think you when you got it, Grinch, do you think that you got it in an outdoor space or an indoor space?
No, it was like an indoor setting. It was one of those where it's the classic like spreader event, right? Because it was actually with coworkers, and we all went over to see where our new tap room is going to be, because we wanted to see it after we'd acquired the building, what it looked like before construction started. And then it was like the next day I heard somebody was out and I'm like,
shit,
son of a, and actually it was the missus that showed symptoms first, and then me, and then oldest baby Grinch. Now the other thing is somehow in the midst of all that, younger baby Grinch never got it. So
ever
we think she might be the one, like one of those few that like just don't get it. Because I saw they did studies of like taking people who just don't contract it, and they literally put the live virus like in their nose and pinch their nose shut for like 10 minutes.
That's not
and they
polite.
Still didn't get it.
It's not polite.
Dang. That's like saying, hey, I farted in this jar, open it and smell it.
Just put it up to your nose.
If we ever get t-shirts made for a spirited debate, it's going to be fancy aces, and on the back it's going to be like, that's not polite.
And then on the front, can it say, remember your royalty?
That's it. I will say the more this has gone on, the less I like people.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if that's indicative of being stuck in the house for 2 years, but when I go out, I'm like, I don't like people. And maybe it's because I don't like the selfish nature of people.
Well, that's just it, right? I mean, we talked about this as well as a theme, which was the concept of collective sacrifice. Nobody wanted to be the one that was put out. Like they were so annoyed by this, that, and the other. And, they're so self-centered that when you say things like, we're literally trying to prevent people from dying. Maybe you didn't, and that's fine. That's a good thing for you. But looking out for your fellow human being is what this is about. It's, you take care of yourself so that you're able to contribute, but then by virtue of doing that and doing certain things, you contribute to the greater good, right? And that was we never heard that from that administration. They poisoned the well right out of the gates. made you start to, they would throw out these themes of like, you're a sheep or you're un-American. You just want to keep doing your thing. And I'm like, it's American, and then it's an American arrogance and ignorance, which is our worst features, not our self-sacrifice, right. And that's to me, like, I still wish if we could have just reset this whole thing and started out of the gates with a more proactive theme, messaging, and leadership, what that would have looked like. But obviously there's no way to know.
Exactly.
No. And sadly though, there's a lot of that everywhere. For example, Austria, as of February 1, it was supposed to be mandatory to get vaccinated. The government has rolled that back as of March 5th. Friday, on my way to walk, because I walk to the gym. On my way to walk to the gym, there was a huge protest group with signs calling COVID-19 a hoax and a conspiracy. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Did they spell hoax right?
I don't know. It was in German, so we'll go with so my point is this: is that it's everywhere. It's not just the arrogance and the ignorance is not just in the U.S. It's everywhere. I mean, dumb people, they live everywhere, and they breed, unfortunately. And so what kills me is they were protesting the fact that they were going to have to get vaccinated because they couldn't go anywhere and do anything. Well, they relieved them of that by making it mandatory vaccinations. Well, then they lift that, and so you get that, and then here you are, not even 7 days later, and you're protesting that it's a hoax and that it's a conspiracy. Like, come on, man! Like, yeah. Really?
Well, and we talked about that, the psychology of conspiracy theories. Once they're hooked into the brain, you can't dislodge it. Some of the ones we talked about, and then a few others that I've heard since that podcast, I'm just like, how do people believe this? Like, there's actually a widespread theme among like the Alex Jones crowd of all of these mass shootings have like actors, and it's all like anti-gun hoax. They're actually crisis actors. And, and then some of these families, like Sandy Hook families, have been hounded for years by people who are like, it's not real. How do you keep this up? And it's like, oh, clearly my child no longer being with me is a hoax, like, I just don't get it. I don't get the psychology.
I mean, we've kept up the moon landing that didn't happen since 1969. So, they can milk this for a few more years.
The ship wasn't big enough to bring us all there to see it with our own eyes, I guess.
Yeah. It's fucking ridiculous. Yeah.
No one's going to believe even the stories we grew up on with our BMX bikes, because they weren't there to see you jump the 10-foot jump and break your face.
Right.
In my head, it was 10 feet. In reality, it was like a foot.
10 inches.
What she said.
And I busted it, yeah.
And my face still hurts. I can't even sneeze out of this side of my nose.
It's killing me too.
So the story gets better every time I tell it.
You're totally right. The one thing that it goes even further than COVID, though. This is personal care. I feel that people don't take care of themselves, and I'm totally right in there with it, because I've had that knot in my back that I've felt for 30 years, and I've gone, I'll get to the chiropractor one day, or I'll finally work it out, or it'll happen when it happens. And that's not how things work. If you have something that's out and you can't fix it today, then you look for assistance to fix it. And if they can't fix it, that's what you are from here on out. It's like we have to take care of our body. So we have to fix it now. So just like COVID, if you are one that rubs your eyes all the time, and you go out and you touch things and you rub your eyes all the time, and you don't take care of yourself, you are the person that is passing it and giving it to everyone else while you're not wearing your mask, going, I don't believe in it. Or you are wearing your mask, but you don't know how it goes into your system because you don't even know how to properly take care of your body. And then we have all these things that we are told to talk about as distractions. So we literally, like, I have so many times I wake up in the morning and the first thing I want to look at is, you want to look at your phone. You're like, oh, what's going on in the world while you get your coffee? But that has nothing to do with how I feel right now. And I haven't assessed my body, and I haven't stretched that shoulder knot, and I haven't taken care of myself to properly even be in the population of people. If I don't take care of myself, what am I going to do with you? I'm showing you what I do with my body, and it's not good business. So I'll give you 70%. Like, that's silly.
Yeah,
like,
but
we need to take care of ourselves.
Yeah, but that mentality doesn't, I mean, think about when you were 20, right? You thought, fucking rub some dirt on it and keep going. Like, I'm fine. It wasn't about taking care of yourself. You know, Haas, you've talked about running your body pretty hard when you were younger and the things that you did. And you figure, I'm invincible. But at some point, the body catches up with you. And then it's like, oh, shit.
I wish people were invincible then.
I wish people would begin to have that philosophy when they're younger, and it might be more pervasive when they're older. But now a lot of people are just like, you know, when you're younger, you're like, it's no big deal. I'll bounce back. I'll recover. I mean, someone like you, someone like your wife gets COVID, and they talk about the impact, you know, on the lungs and things like that. Like, your job necessitates you being able to cast your voice and be able to sing, and you can't afford that. You know, to not have that working at top notch.
Totally. It's like the first time you run a new scene that you haven't done in front of a person, you feel like you're running a sprint on a treadmill and singing at the same time with props in your hands and character choices in your face. And your brain is working harder as a muscle than any part of your body, just trying to keep everything going. And it's something that if we lose our lung capacity, and we can oxygenate the blood to get the brain, you know, really pumping to stay in that heightened experience, because you're taking in everything to really figure out what you're doing, we're done. Like, every job after that, I'll be like, so I'd like to play, no longer, I don't want to play in my late 30s to 40s. I'd like to play characters that are 70 years old, please.
Well, and I think there's care of self in order to contribute to whatever it is, whether it is making money for the family or, you know, whatever you choose.
Yeah.
And then there's collective, like I said, sense of collective sacrifice in order to achieve greater things. Right. And my current day example would be, if, you know, 5 years from now, we tell, you know, in the history books, it says for the United States and the rest of the world to get Putin out of office, removed or whatever, we paid $5 to $7 a gallon for a month. Like, that was the extent of your sacrifice to achieve this. Like, wouldn't you think you'd be agreeable to something like that?
Yeah.
You know, but right now, of course, it's oh my God, the gas. It's like, there are people literally dying in another country right now.
That and
you're the cost to you is gas. Yep. And I'm not saying it's not a real effect. It is, absolutely it is, but it's a financial impact as opposed to lives.
But to put it in a little more narrower perspective, Fat Thor and I were talking yesterday, and he asked me, because we don't really pay attention, what the gas prices were like here. When we went out today, we noticed it is $2.15 to $2.25 per liter, and there's 4.4 liters per gallon. So it's in the $9 to $11 or $12 per gallon range.
Yeah, after I talked to you, I Googled it. I looked it up just to see what it was.
Yeah, well,
that's crazy.
It is worth saying too, petrol is more expensive across the board in Europe, I think. At least that's been my experience, whether it is London or Austria or Germany. Like, it just costs more.
And the caveat that Haas,
it started high and it did go higher. You know, That doesn't change the point Haas made.
The caveat, though, that Haas will mention is he doesn't own a car, so he doesn't care about gas prices. Because that's what I asked. He goes, honestly, I have no idea, because I don't own a car and I don't give a fuck. I have no need to know what.
All of that is true,
right? I'm like, where?
And part of the
consideration, gas station's located.
Well, part of the consideration of us moving where we moved, because we had options, was not having to own a vehicle. That was part of what the allure to us being here was. They have a top shelf public transportation system.
Oh yeah, you don't have to pay insurance on a car. You don't have to do maintenance on a car. That's amazing.
Dude, I'm telling you, as far as like relieving stressors, those were one of those things where I didn't like doing those things. I wasn't good at them. I didn't enjoy them. And I stressed about having to pay someone else to do it, because it emasculated me in some ways. And so now I just don't have to worry about it, deal with it. And I love it.
I have a question. So what do you call road rage when you're not in a car and you're just an asshole going to work?
Oh, that's just Haas.
That's me walking down the street. That's just me walking down the street, bro. Yeah.
Haas rage.
Haas rage. Yeah, no doubt. That's 100% true. No doubt.
That's awesome.
Somebody wants to send me some gummies. I'd appreciate it.
Apparently, you can order them online.
So I'm told.
Yeah. Word on the street. Word on the street. Yeah. I mean, it's been 2 years. It's been in reflection. It's been an interesting 2 years in terms of what we've had to undergo in all facets. And again, pointing out, Ace, the dynamic that you've had to undergo versus what I've had to undergo is worlds apart in terms of, again, like you said, when you are home, you're not working. I can work from home. Haas, you can work from home. I know Mac, when his job allows him to work from home, but it affects everybody differently. And if you're somebody that's waiting, you make a living waiting tables or something like that, when you can't earn and you can't provide, that stress obviously gets amplified. And so I think those people are like, I want to go back. I want to go back. Need to keep my roof above my head and electricity and food on the table, where I'm like, well, fuck, I can work from home. I don't give a shit. But I respect that other people's cases are different, and it has got to be difficult and trying in that situation. I'm super excited that the things are opening back up, Ace, that you and your wife can go back out and do the things that you love and be involved.
Me too.
And, it when you don't see an end to it, it's got to be tough. When they tell you just 2 weeks, call us back. We'll probably be back and ready to go. And then a year later, you're like, okay, it's another 2 fucking weeks. I mean, that should
there's
get
2 years.
Right.
A COVID story.
Yeah, dude, it's you could literally that'll be on Netflix. It'll say 2 weeks and it'll have years bigger. It's interesting. Like, it's brought a new attention to the now, for sure. Definitely a lot of self-analyzing, but what it has done, having to be able to just pull income from whatever you can, it really made me aware of how much I'm a helper. I really like to help my friends, and I like to help people achieve their goals. And I forget sometimes how much I've already put in as far as hands-on knowledge, whether it's remodeling homes or doing plumbing or whatever it is. And it's like, it's been really good to be able to help. So I feel like I'm actually more present for the work that's going to come than I was before. But we've all gone through a mental reset. We've all literally like cabined ourselves and self-analyzed, and I think we've all come out as better people. I just hope that everybody's really here and not stuck on the devices.
Yeah. So what I hear you saying is that sometime in the near future, there's going to be a fancy Ace furniture store in downtown Nashville, right?
And all my fixes will be sponsored by Ace Hardware.
See, I would hope so, because that's some product placement you would totally be missing.
Yeah.
There's going to be a time, right? I got to get them at some point.
So, like, I know you've done music, you do theater. In that 2 years at home, did you ever think about like going back to music or writing music or anything like that? Because I know you and Diana have a music background in terms of, things that you've done. When you can't be out in the world acting on stage in front of people, did you ever think, well, let's go back to writing music, let's put out an album or something like that?
It's funny you asked. I right when COVID started, I'd spent 2 years with the only girlfriend my wife allows in the bedroom, my Martin acoustic guitar. and Martina and I have written an album over 2 years that I recorded live in Nashville at Castle Studios. And I was getting ready to package it and figure out how to get it out in the world right when COVID started. So I've just now finally revisited it. I didn't feel that during COVID time was the time to put out anything other than, hey, take care of yourself and let's all survive. But now I feel much more artistic, and I have a new vision for that live recording. It's literally just me and a guitar, beginning to end, like I would be on stage with what we do in musical theater. But it took me 2 years to write the songs. And I have a buddy that did the co-writes on Diana's Gemini album that's revisiting it as well. And we're going to give it a packaging that kind of brings in my love for music from when I was inspired in the 90s as well, to kind of frame all the acoustic stuff that I had done and give it more of a theatrical touch. So it is definitely coming. I haven't felt the right time to celebrate other than survival.
Right.
So it's been hard, but yes, it is coming.
And of course, when it's difficult like that, it's like you said, just trying to survive. It is hard to get motivated to think, well, doing this and putting this out right now is the right time to do it. It needs to wait. I mean, like you said, you at the moment, it was not only survival for yourself and your wife, but helping other people that needed that help, and less about, oh, well, let me get this album to market type of thing.
Oh, dude, it's been brutal. The fires that went through Colorado were a block from my parents' house. They were shut out for 10 days. So I'm getting emotional talking about it, but it's been crap. So I'm ready to be out and party again for sure.
All right, let's all go to Ace's house and party.
I am on my
to the Holiday Inn.
Holiday Inn French 75. Make sure to add that Ace Fantastic Bubbly shit.
Was this the 4 Mississippi version or the 2 Mississippi version?
I think it is, because I'm crying, so I definitely think it is. I got emotional with it. I wonder sitting over here, and she's curious if I'm okay.
Your wife's like, I'm going to reap the rewards of this moment.
Yeah. I wonder if, short of somebody kicking off World War III, and then that becomes the thing that just overshadows the last 2 years. I do wonder in a few years, like, if this is just a blip on the radar. And it's odd to me, because in the moment, and that's, again, this speaks to the human spirit, right? We're a resilient species. We're gonna make it through this stuff, and it's a good, healthy sign in the sense that, or it can be, of just coming out the other end and being like, let's go. I say that not having personal loss. Now, those almost a million that through complications or otherwise were did suffer losses, I feel for them, because I realize they're going to recall this era in a different way.
Think about kids who lost both parents.
Yeah.
That's the one that breaks my heart the most.
And I always kind of think about that. Like, I forget the philosopher who talked about how relative information in proximity to issues can be. Because, his analogy was, and I think maybe I've referenced this before, he wrote like 3 pieces. One was like, the war in Iraq will not happen. The war in Iraq is not happening. The war in Iraq didn't happen. And the angle of it was like, if you weren't personally connected to that in any way, shape, or form, for all intents and purposes, it didn't happen to you. It just didn't. And I'll use the example of the tsunami in Indonesia. I don't know anybody there. Never been to Indonesia. Like, I can't visualize it. I can't relate to what was damaged, but that was 200,000 people killed in like a very short span. Devastating on a human scale, right? But for me, it's like, unless somebody brings it up, I remember where I was when I heard it on the news and the imagery, but I'm not personally scarred by it. And I think it's kind of similar. Like, the numbers are still such that, like, everybody was affected, but their effect in their minds could have been just annoying inconveniences as opposed to loss. And I think that's what'll shape their view going forward of how they look back on it. I can imagine a time where somebody might go, do you remember COVID? I'm like, oh yeah, I haven't thought about that in a long time.
Grinch, that's a brilliant point. And truthfully, there's 2 sides to it. There's one side where it did happen, so it has to be respected, and it has to be felt when someone has gone through it, that you get to encounter. Like, you have to legit hit on a reel with that person, and that has to be the respect. But is it beneficial to keep hitting the nail on the head in the conversation of the talking points to then move forward for the people that weren't specifically affected? That's the question. So there are all these things that have been happening on this massive levels. Like, Nashville has had more twisters go through just around our area, through Kentucky and through Germantown in the last few years than I have even heard of. I heard of one big rainfall in 2010 before we moved, and it, like, these are things that did definitely happen. The fires in Colorado got rid of over 1,000 houses in 8 hours with 100-mile-an-hour winds. People don't realize, like, oh, it's a fire, pour water on it. No, bro, there's 100-mile-an-hour wind hitting you in the face.
Satan himself sent this up.
Yeah. When we went there, we're talking 9-foot poles that would hold a fence gate that would be 3.5 feet in the ground. So they're sitting up 5.5 feet. Those poles were burned and on fire, being thrown over a 6-lane freeway with the 100-mile-an-hour winds, landing and then continuing the fire. It like bounced around. You couldn't even figure out where to go to just make a wall, let alone what was happening in 8 hours. Over 1,000 homes gone. And the thing that was crazy is it happened at lunch. This is lunchtime. People are at work. So yes, people are safe. They're out of their house, but guess who's not? Every animal they own. So many animals.
And we know you're an animal lover.
The lucky ones got out. I got my wiener dog on my shirt for a Tennessee Dachshund rescue. It broke our hearts thinking about how they were affected, and hopefully they could run out through a wall that had already burned before the house got up. But it's like, these are things that we have to respect that they happened. But do we need to continue to talk about them like they're happening again emotionally? No, we need to respect them. We need to figure out where we are as a human species, and we need to move forward together, like in a collective, because all these things that happen that go up, like gas prices go up, they're shocking to us because our overhead's too high. We need to all make more money, or prices need to go down for living. They're not going to, guys. They're going to go up. That's what the people do when they sell stuff. So it's like we got to figure it all out.
Yeah, you don't get me started on raising the minimum wage, but do you think, because when you guys talk about this, Grinch and Fancy Ace, I think about 9/11. That's the first thing that comes to the forethought of my brain, is that will it be the equivalent of how we treat 9/11, where like once a year we'll have some kind of memorial celebration and we think about it, but the people who lived through that, they think about it every day.
They're still there. It's like literally my uncle, Vietnam. I bring it up, he's still there. He's 20 years old and he's still there. It has to be so respected, but it needs to be hugged. Like, dude, we got to hug this out, and we got to just let you know that you're not there anymore. Like, we got to literally just bro hug this thing, and we got to get you to your safe place to realize where you are. And I still have friends in New York that are still there. When anything comes up with dust, you even say dust, they're there.
Yeah. And that imprint on the psyche, if you will, is, it's the equivalent of mental scar tissue. Right. And I've brought this up before. I steal a few things and put them in the kit bag and then just use them over and over again, which was the case study they did following, saying the tsunami reminded me of this again, which was when they went back and interviewed people after the event, the ones that were able to healthily kind of rebuild and move forward viewed the incident as part of the overall narrative of their life, meaning it was a chapter, not the end. And they weren't stuck reading that same chapter over and over again. It's not a denial that it happened. It was an acceptance. And then it folds into so where do I go from here? And it's, for me, that's kind of where I am with COVID right now is I'm hoping I'm getting to the end of the chapter, right? Because I'm starting to look ahead and have ideas about what the next chapter looks like. And that's where we want people. It's not that you can't, it isn't a denial. It isn't a refusal to accept that it happened, because it did, but that's what makes you who you are. And now you got to move forward. That's kind of the positive vision that's needed for, the broader humanity. That's where our leaders come in, right?
Most definitely. And people don't know. Yeah. They don't know. Like Ellie, my buddy from Idol, he was on an island doing a corporate event when the tsunami hit, and he was stuck there for almost 2 weeks, and he is diabetic. He was on Facebook. He found a way to get on Wi-Fi and send out a thing on Facebook trying to get insulin to the island. And that was his only portal, but he used it. It was reached. He then now has obviously gotten over that. He's married. They're doing great. He's alive. But it's like, these things have to be hugged out. and they have to be respected because everybody that's gone through whatever they've gone through. I mean, it could be childhood trauma. It could be something where, you know, it could be parental, it could be anything. Whatever you've gone through that was a traumatic experience for you that has created some glitch in your running system that keeps you from being here in this real life, all senses video game. Like whatever it is that's keeping you from this is the experience, guys. Like whatever keeps you from this is something that needs to be hugged out, respected, loved, and then we got to analyze what the fuck is out, and we got to figure out a way to solve it.
Ace, can I get a hug?
All the time, every day. And right now it's a holiday in French 75, so you might be full body hug.
There you go.
Straight koala you.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are pillows.
And if I have another French 75, there might be a little dry hump.
There you go.
None of that French 0. What is this?
Yeah. Yeah, French
gone.
zero. Wow,
It's
bro.
gone.
Swing and a miss.
It is. You know, as always, you know, I enjoy doing this week in and week out with you guys. Ace, thank you for being here. It has been an honor once again. You know, we've talked about COVID. It almost feels ad nauseum over the last 2 years, and we really only touched on it 3 times. It's been our focus, and I know it's shown up in a number of our episodes. But as I said at the outset, and I will say it again, it bears repeating, this will be the last episode we dedicate 2-year anniversary. Hopefully you are paying attention to what we said here. Ace is giving out free hugs. So if you need one, he will help you with that. He is a helper. He's a giver. And that's what it's all about. We have to learn from it.
If you look like a zombie, you're getting a digital hug.
Hey, it's still a hug.
Gotta protect my wife.
We need to move on. We need to learn from this as much as, you know, you talk about hugging it out and accepting the situation. It also bears learning from it. So obviously we don't repeat this down the road. But with that being said, we are going to end it here. All that has been said is all that needs to be said about COVID. Have some respect for yourself. Have some respect for your fellow human being. You know, when you go out in the world, if you don't wear a mask, just clean yourself up. Take care of yourself. Even if you walk through TSA barefoot, no judgment. We still love you.
Some judgment.
Moderate
just don't
amount
pick
of
my
judgment.
wedgie, man.
That's it.
Just don't pick my wedgie.
You know, guys, I appreciate you being here. Ace, taking time out of your busy schedule up there in Cape Cod, you know, bringing entertainment and joy to the masses. And you are here with us.
I'm glad it worked out. Like, truthfully, this is our 1 day off in 2 weeks. And this is awesome. And I was telling Diana how much I look forward to all of us meeting in person in the summertime at Haas's house, because I don't want to be there in the winter. Fuck that.
I'll bring the gin alternative.
No, you will not. No, you will not.
You might like it. You don't know.
Yeah, no, and just as a reminder, and this is for us / the audience, Mac doesn't know you're recording this with us.
Yes, he has no idea you're here.
Yes,
he does
Let's
not
send
know
him a
that
hug too.
he has
not
been
replaced.
secretly replaced.
He is Ace.
That's right.
Whenever he needs a filler.
There you go. You know what? Anytime somebody's gone, if you have the time, we would definitely have you on. Absolutely.
Dude,
yeah, we love us some Pansiers.
Yes.
If you don't care about shitty audio and I'm on a plane or on a bus and you hear while I'm talking, I will be here anytime.
I will work on editing that. You show up with a drink and your personality and hugs, and we are good to go, brother.
The guy with a drink on a bus.
I'm doing a show. Mind your own fucking business as he's drinking.
Well, you've heard of slow gin, right? No, this is stew gin. I just made it in the bathroom at the back of the bus.
I think there's an Usher song. Play another slow gin. This time, make it sweet.
You know, all I could think about, you know, Reba McEntire, this is your one chance. You know, Fancy Ace, don't let us down. And you didn't disappoint, man.
I am so happy, and I hope that I'm not shunned out once the other member finds out that I am here.
No, he's going to be surprised, to be sure. He's like,
it's going to be funny. It's going to be.
See what happens when you don't come to work?
That's right. Exactly.
Speaking of that, we got a whole host of surprises rolling out.
Yeah, we do. As of late. That's right. It's Friday. What's and Friday? How the hell you get fired on your day off?
Did we mention Haas missed an episode?
He did. He did. And you know, I was talking to him yesterday, and he goes, "So, what did you all talk about last week?" I'm like, "No, I'm not doing it. You'll find out."
Yeah, listen to the recording.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's gold. It's gold.
Not listening.
Not listening? I mean, that's a choice you make. I mean, that's fine.
Yes. You might want to.
Oh, he totally is.
You need to,
I don't know, man.
At this point, story straight, because you're
at this point it's Schrodinger's cat, right? Like it can't be bad or it can't be good. It didn't happen.
When you start getting some odd questions,
but just say the punchlines of the actual show and see if he breaks, because you're going to find out how good of an actor he is right then when you say everything that you know he heard.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably name this one like playing your ace in the hole or something like that.
Hey,
let's see, Mac will never figure it out. That's right.
Ace in your holes.
That's right. Ace in your holes.
Well, I mean, because you were talking about all the holes in the body earlier. Yeah, that's right.
That's true.
Your butthole, your pee hole.
That's right.
These are all things that take in things, people. Come on, stop.
Start at the top and go down, not the other way around.
Unless you're Haas and it's Friday night.
You can do a handstand in the shower.
That's right. I may try it. I might be able to get away with that.
Yeah, we're gonna be,
or the golden jellyfish. One of the two.
We're gonna be the new generation with broken shoulders instead of broken hips.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Handstand in the shower. They said start from the top down.
My feet are so clean right now, though.
That's right. Exactly. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate it. Laughs notwithstanding. Love being here with you guys. Ace, you will definitely have to come back and do this again, brother. See, he is emotional. Have a third one. You'll feel better.
This is a happy emotion. Like, I don't care how big it looks.
All righty, gents. Well, I will let you all carry on with your day. Thank you so much for being here. For all of you out there listening, go to our website, aspiriteddebate.com. You can check all of the drinks, all of the French 75s that we have done here, because amazingly enough, they were all different, even though they were the same cocktail.
So make sure that that you don't do Fat Thor's French 70
don't do
zero,
French
because
70.
he's going to go do his taxes next, and he has to keep his head right.
That's right. No, I've already done those, thankfully. I wish somebody had told me how to do them when I was a kid. At least I would have understood.
Right?
But
just like the holes, we got to learn this stuff.
And then, as always, hit us up on our email, the4horsemen at aspiriteddebate.com, FOUR, the 4 horsemen. Check us out. We would love to have you come back and listen. Ace and Diana have been on the show a number of times, November of 2020, May of 2021, and then now here we are in March of 2022. So check out all the episodes with Ace and Diana. That's it. And by the way, I don't know if we've heard it first, but apparently Ace may have an album in the works. So
it's coming.
It's exciting.
It is. It's coming.
You let us know when it's out. I will look forward to seeing that and listening to it.
I'm trying to do a packaging of what inspired me, and the things that got me early on were like the heavy metal MTV movie and things like that. They really hit me and let me become a man. I'm putting it together. So there's a lot in the works.
If you go on tour, we want VIP tickets.
Hey, you can get VI in my whatever tickets.
Don't tell Haas that.
No telling that ends up there. Exactly.
He'll be like, no.
All righty, gentlemen. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me, guys. I love you guys. And
we love you, and we will definitely do this again sometime. So thank you. The views, information, or opinions expressed during the A Spirited Debate podcast series or any affiliated podcast are solely those of the hosts or guests involved and do not represent those of people, institutions, or organizations that the host or guests may or may not be associated with in a professional or personal capacity, unless explicitly stated. While guests are invited to listen, listeners acknowledge that they are not being provided professional advice from the podcast or its guests. The content within the parameters of A Spirited Debate podcast series or any affiliated podcast are for entertainment and educational purposes only. Any views or opinions are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, or individual.